You're listening to Champion Cinema with Chris and Chris.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Champion Cinema. I'm Chris with a Costner C.
Oh, and I'm Chris with a Kevin. Okay,
Lovely. That's rare, isn't it? They were both using the same person's name. That's
the
very
old
rare.
KC double bill.
Exactly, yeah. Week 3 of our journey in post-apocalyptic... That's what I'm trying to say.
End of the world movies.
Aye. That's better. With Waterworld and the Book of Eli. A couple of more, I would say, I almost said modern day, but Waterworld's like 30 years old next year. So.
Yeah. It's like in our heads, it's like, yeah, that new fucking water film with Kevin Costner in.
Came out last week, as far as I'm concerned. I still remember. I think I went to see Waterworld twice at the cinema.
Yeah, I would say so. I think, like, we'll get into it, but like this and Prince of Thieves, I guess, are like big cinema movies, weren't they? So like, you had to go and see Kevin Costner at the cinema.
Exactly, yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, the guy David Sanborn, he was like a saxophone player, but like he's the guy on, he's passed away, but he's the guy like who plays sax on all the Lethal Weapon movies, so I just wanted to give him a shout out, because, you know, those scores are amazing.
Yeah, big part of our childhoods.
You know, we love a bit of saxophone on scores, and that's pretty top tier, the Lethal Weapon soundtracks for saxophone. So, yeah, like the only guy left alive now who did the scores, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Like Michael Kamen's dead, now David Sanborn's gone. Yeah.
Oh, sad. Yeah, I missed that in the news, didn't I?
Yeah, it didn't really get that widespread, but like if you look at his Wikipedia page though, like he's worked with like everybody.
Just one of them guys.
Everyone in the 80s and 90s who had like a saxophone in their album, it was probably him.
Good. Mad.
And he used to be in like David Letterman's like house band on his show for a few years as well. So like, yeah, he's been around, done a lot of stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because, you know,
Yeah.
it's a big part of our childhood, those movies and that soundtrack and stuff.
Rest in peace, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
Champion Cinema.
So Waterworld was released in 1995. It runs for 2 hours and 15 minutes, directed by Kevin Reynolds and, I guess, uncredited Kevin Costner.
Basically.
Stars Kevin Costner as the Mariner, Jean Tripplehorn as Helen, Tina Majorino as Enola, Michael Jeter as Old Gregor, Gerard Murphy as Nord, and Dennis Hopper as Dayton. But what's it about?
Well, a post-apocalyptic film that swaps out deserts for oceans. Kevin Costner plays a lonesome wandering mariner who is an expert of survival on the ocean. His way of life is quickly disrupted, however, when he is pulled into a mystery involving a young girl who was tattooed with a map to dry land.
So yeah, it's one of those films that, as we were kind of talking about, it's like remembered as a huge flop, and because of that is remembered as being bad.
Yeah.
And it kind of was a flop because of its massive, like, spiraling budget it had and stuff. And But it really, if you look at the numbers, it only really underperformed in America. So, like, the story, like, the myth of it being this giant flop kind of just went, you know, traveled overseas, even though, like, it made, like, 100 and... What did it make? Like, the budget originally was 175, and then that boosted up to 200 million because of marketing and shit. Made 88 million at the US box office. Made 176 million in the rest of the world, though. So it kind of...
It ended in profit, didn't it, basically?
Eventually.
Like just.
Eventually, yeah. Like, broke even with some change, basically.
Yeah,
and, like, it eventually apparently brought in a profit with, like, home video and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think... You know, it's gone down in history as like a film that people enjoyed to like attack at the time.
Yeah, it became the butt of jokes, didn't it?
Yeah, like the media loved to see like disaster stories about things that had gone wrong on the set and stuff. And
yeah, it was weird because it was like Universal like openly talking about those stories and stuff and like mentioning it and shit. And I'd say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why'd you'd say you want it to fail?
Some sort of like weird hit piece.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon though that, I mean, even Disney still do that and stuff to this day. You know, sometimes they're like, I guess if the studio gets like ahead of the dailies and starts to worry that the film might not be what they wanted, that they will do that. They'll kind of get out in front of it and be like, oh, you know, we're doing reshoots or we're worried about it. And these news stories generally come from the studio, I guess. So
yeah,
it's like
weird.
Some sort of weird tactic to try and be like, oh, people are going to say shit, so we'll say shit first.
Yeah, it's like making fun of yourself so no one else does.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But yeah, at the time, I mean, this was just before Titanic. So until Titanic, this was the most expensive movie ever made. And that just seems mental now, doesn't it? Like, I know Costner was on like a massive roll then. When you look at like the films he made 5 years leading up to this, like everyone was pretty much a huge hit.
Yeah.
But like basically chucking 300, almost eventually 300 million at basically Mad Max on water is just like, you'd never get that now because unless it's like an established IP, no one's getting, it's even 150 million to make a movie that isn't like a comic book movie, a sequel, a remake, a Star Wars movie or whatever. So it's just insane.
It's insane that Costner, he funded it with 22 million out of his own pocket as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know that.
Yeah, crazy. I guess that might have been during the sort of latter phases of the movie, maybe.
I think for a good few years, I thought Costner directed it because he was kind of he directed at that point, right?
Yeah.
Did he direct Dances with Wolves, or was that Kevin Reynolds? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I have a feeling, I'm leaning towards it was him that directed it. I know Kevin Reynolds directed, obviously, Robin Hood previously.
That's what I'm thinking of then, yeah.
Yeah, because what's insane about that sort of combination is that the stories about him and Kevin Reynolds and Kevin Costner, they come to blows during Robin Hood. And, like, apparently they had to convince Kevin Reynolds to come back for this movie. Like, even though it's like Kevin Costner recommended Kevin Reynolds for the director's chair for this film.
Yeah, I saw that.
But they like kind of had a tumultuous time making Robin Hood. So it's kind of weird.
It's just that Hollywood thing, isn't it? It's like, right, we don't really get along, but obviously something works because Robin Hood made a fuckload of money. So let's just put our differences aside, and it didn't work, obviously.
No, I don't think they've worked together since.
No, they have. They got together like on that Hatfield McCoy show. Apparently that was them for the first time since Waterworld, working together. Buried the hatchet finally, like 30 years later.
God.
But yeah, after you were saying last week about like, you wonder what Van Damme thinks of like Cyborg now and stuff. Like, I did stumble across some quotes. I thought I'd include like quotes from people. We should maybe try doing that more often. Like, what do they think of it? Like, and especially a controversial movie. So, Costner says it stands up as a really exotic, cool movie. I mean, it was flawed for sure, but overall, it's a very inventive, cool movie. So, he obviously still likes it.
Yeah.
Hopper has the best take. He says, I thought Waterworld got a bad name for itself in the United States, but it did really well in Europe and Asia. I think the studio sort of shot themselves in the foot by announcing it was so over budget, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a failure. All this came out before we released it in the States, but I enjoyed it.
Wow.
Yeah. And Kevin Reynolds said, my own personal take on the picture is that I don't think it's any better or any worse than most summer blockbusters. It's somewhere in the middle. And he also said, Kevin Costner should only star in movies he directs. That way he can work with his own favourite actor and his favourite director.
Yeah, I did say that quote, yeah.
That's such a good quote. I bet fucking Costner was fuming when he read that.
Yeah, like, cheeky bastard.
Speaking of which, though, I was thinking while watching it, I like Costner. I'm not really, I know that some people like can't stand Costner for some reason.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm taking my leave, sort of guy.
Yeah. I was wondering when watching it, like, would it be better with someone else as the Mariner? There's just something about like the way he plays it. Sometimes it's just a bit odd. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it.
It's kind of like Forrest Gumpy at times.
That's what I mean. He's kind of childlike at times, but then like absolutely a brutal, like kind of sociopath at other times as well.
Childlike and emotionless and psychopathic, which I guess is like what they were going for. They were going for like, he's a guy that just lives out in the open ocean and he doesn't like people that much. So, you know, he plays it like straight like that. It's kind of like I always think like Matrix and Neo sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, Keanu Reeves plays him very like emotionless and just straight-laced. And I guess it kind of works. But yeah, it's an interesting sort of like thought experiment. Like who else could kind of play that character?
I was just thinking like, okay, like just restricted myself to like who was probable in like 1995. So I came up with 3.
Yeah.
The first one, and probably the most improbable, would be Tom Cruise, because he was a big star, but he wasn't thought of as an action guy yet, so I don't really think he would have been considered. But I could see it. Yeah. I could see like 2000s Tom Cruise playing
little fucking Reggie bombing about.
Exactly,
on his boat, doing his own stunts.
Yeah. Val Kilmer, I think, would have worked.
Yeah, I could say that. Val Kilmer, yeah.
Would have suited him better than Batman, which was also 95.
Yeah.
And my dark horse pick, just it's mental because I don't think he would have been offered a role this big at the time, but just imagine him as the character, a bit of a psycho, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Can you picture it though?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Intense.
He's very rad.
I'm going to vote Kurt Russell. Why not?
Well, I was going to say that, but I thought it's too obvious with the
eye patch.
I was also going to say it's fucking Van Damme.
Why not? He's just fucking kicked it. And instead of like spears and stuff, he just obviously kicks and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, but a lot more kicking. His super dark horse pick, though, is Seagal. But he wouldn't have done it
Yeah.
anyway because he's sharp. His widow's peak could be coming off all the time. It's too much water.
Exactly. He would have to redraw that out constantly, and he would only do it if he could sit for like 70% of the movie. So he might be on board for that.
How about when all these guys are attacking the base, I have a seat?
They're like, what?
But yeah, as for getting on to the movie, though, I mean, it opens with one of our favourite all-time gimmicks, the Universal logo merging into the opening shot.
I do like a film logo like blending into the movie.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's rare that it happens, unfortunately. But
The weirdest part that I did not remember about the opening is they use like Hal Douglas's like trailer voiceover, like from the trailer to set the movie up. At first I was like, shit, is this the trailer?
yeah, it is kind of a strange move, because I mean now you probably get a text crawl, I guess, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to start a movie with a dramatic voiceover.
Yeah. It was really odd. Like, I don't know, just put a bit of text, or it's not like it's fucking. It was one of the most like hyped movies of the year, so it's not like no one's going to know what it's about.
Yeah, everyone knows.
It's not hard in the first 5 minutes to get to grips with. Okay, it's the world is just water.
Yeah, because they don't even need that like reason, do they? Really, I suppose that's the one thing about the film. I mean, firstly, not to be like the science nerd, but if the polar ice caps melted, there wouldn't be enough water to do that anyway. So you would like lose coastal towns. Sorry, movie, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to ignore science for a bit, and just enjoy the ride, really.
But they just didn't need to quantify it. They could have just had an early line in the movie. That mentions the ancient times when there used to be land or something, and a big disaster, and you'd be like, I get it, something happened.
I mean, I will say, like, it's been a long time since I've watched this start to finish. Like maybe bits and pieces here on telly. That one line right at the start, I was like, oh, that's a fucking awful line. When he's like, nothing's free in Waterworld. I'm like, don't call it Waterworld. That's the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's classic. Drop the movie title earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt really dumb. I don't know.
Plus, like, again, not to be like, this is like a double hit for me for like science stuff. Yeah, like the whole polar ice caps, and then one of the first scenes that you see is Kevin Costner drinking his own piss after he like filtrates it and stuff. But it's like, if you have some sort of technology or some sort of adaptation that can do that to urine, you would definitely just do it to seawater. I know there's like a line later in the movie where there's like, the filters or something, but you would definitely you would use like bloody evaporation to like distill seawater into drinking water. Yeah, you wouldn't be drinking your own urine. But I think that's me done for like me nerdy quibbles. I think science quibbles, but it's just like annoying that the movie opens with like 2 right off the bat, where I'm like, oh god.
There was nothing on the soundtrack, no sound effects that annoyed you this week?
No, there wasn't.
Good.
Although I will say, I watched the Ulysses cut.
Oh, did you now? I did not. I could not be asked.
All 3 hours and 8 minutes of it.
Oh, you're brave. I'll be honest, I just about made it through the 2 hours, 15 minutes.
It's a big movie, I'll say that. It was interesting to watch, actually. It's the first time I've ever watched it. Doesn't really add anything different. It's just the same movie, but every single scene has like a couple minutes more. Yeah. It's interesting.
I heard the ending's different. Like, doesn't he have a different reason for leaving at the end?
No, not really.
I was reading up something that said like there's one ending in that cut, I think, where he says more like, I'm going to go find more people like me or something like that.
Well, yeah. Sorry, there is that. I forgot about, because that's not in the theatrical cut, is it? He just kind of doesn't like it and then he leaves. Yeah. But it's not like a main sticking point, though. He's just kind of like, he still says like, it's just not right. I don't like it. I'm going to leave. And he's like, I might find more people like me, and if I find anybody else like you, I'll send them your way. And then and then that's it. So it's barely a difference, to be fair. Okay. But that's the entire movie, though. Basically, every scene is basically the same, but there's a couple more lines of dialogue in every scene. So.
Yeah, so it was just all this cut stuff was basically just tightening it up, basically. Yeah.
I think I would definitely say if you were like scratching your head on which version to watch, probably just watch the theatrical version, to be honest.
Yeah, and then watch the other one afterwards out of curiosity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny though, because like they have, if you look up like the behind the scenes, they were just like heavily influenced, obviously, by Mad Max 2. And the initial idea was like, let's make a Mad Max ripoff on water. That was like the pitch, kind of. But the initial setup is just basically Mad Max 2, about him going to some compound and getting in with, like, then the story progresses from there. It's quite funny.
I kind of like to imagine, you know, like that famous story about James Cameron, where he wrote Alien and then just wrote an S and then wrote a dollar sign. Have you heard that story before?
Yeah,
where that was his pitch for Aliens, basically. He wrote Alien on the board, wrote an S, and then made it into a dollar sign. And mic dropped, and everyone was like, "Fuck, you're the man." I like to think that somebody just wrote, like, they just had a picture of Mad Max on the board, and then they just threw a bucket of water at the board, and then they were like, "Fucking get out!" It's like water everywhere.
Just have like a really crude drawing of Max and just draw a little boat underneath him. And just go, then draw a dollar sign and they're like, get out.
They're like, we read that worked for Jim Cameron, but apparently it doesn't work for this. And that was the beginning of many problems this movie faced.
Yeah, certainly.
Because we should probably talk about, I think that the most famous problem the movie had is the atoll, like, kind of getting wrecked by
it sank,
a hurricane.
didn't it? Yeah, and it sank.
Yeah. They had to pause multiple times because of hurricanes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the first version of the atoll they created sank, and they had to fly in loads more steel. Like, Hawaii ran out of steel at one point, and they had to fly in, like, steel from America to, like, build the set or something.
See, that's like the kind of like I love the Hollywood excess in this movie when it comes to the stunts and the action scenes, but it's that type of shit where you just like, it's a fucking movie. Like, what are you doing spending this much money?
Apparently that they used a million tons of steel to build the atoll.
Yeah, that's just mental.
Like, come on. Like, make it out of wood, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
It might not have sank if you made it out of wood, your tools.
There's a lot of familiar characters in the atoll, though. You've got Jack Keller, who's the dude's landlord that we mentioned a while ago. He turned up in Lethal Weapon 4, I think, as well. He's one of those guys who, like, turns up all the time.
Yeah, straight away made note, like, Lebowski's neighbour there.
And you've got Leonardo Cimino, who's the creepy old German guy from Monster Squad, who's one of the people in the village.
The elder.
Yeah, and one of our heroes, Rick Aveals, from lots of things, Ghost, but to us, he's Batman from Cannonball Run.
Because I was thinking, like, was that him? Yeah, weird. I always like see him in loads of movies. That guy.
Yeah, he was around a lot in the 80s and 90s, definitely.
Yeah, bless him.
The murderer in Ghost. I always remember him as well.
You know, I don't remember him in Ghost. Think about it. I'm gonna have to check it out in a minute. Find a picture.
He's the guy who he's the guy who kills Patrick Swayze, basically.
Is he? God.
Yeah.
Fuck. Do not remember that at all.
Called Willie, I think.
Yeah, I've just got some image of a white guy, but I guess that's the bad guy in that movie, isn't it?
Tony Goldwyn from Cuffs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wonder how he would feel about being referred to as Tony Goldwyn from Cuffs. I'd be fucking proud, but I don't know. Maybe he'd prefer Tony Goldwyn from Ghost.
But yeah, no, it's got a jam-packed cast. This really.
Both these films do really. Every 5 minutes in Book of Eli, I was like, fucking hell. And same with this, people just kept popping up.
I always recognise the guy that plays, is it Node, the henchman guy? I always forget it. He's in Batman, the Dark Knight movie, but he's like the judge or something. And it's like forever burnt in my head, like his portrayal in that film. I
didn't recognise him from that, but I was thinking, like, he does look familiar, so I was looking up his filmography and going, oh, that's probably where I know him from.
Yeah.
I do think his character, though, sometimes just does not look like... He looks like he's in the wrong movie.
Yeah.
He looks like he should be in, like, Excalibur or something.
Yeah, and, like, his accent kind of comes and goes, and then by the end of the movie, he's, like, doing a thing that he doesn't do for the rest of the movie. You know, there's... just look at my notes. There's a where he's like, I've always wanted to drive this monster. and then he delivers the line, you should have stayed on the water. And then he gets blown away. And it's like, what's he doing? Like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel... It feels like suddenly he was a different character.
He's doing Boise from Money Fools Noses. From the sound of it.
Yeah, it just goes like super Cockney, but it's like Australian Cockney or something. Like kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, I do love a good villain henchman.
him and fucking Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 could have been a great tag team back in the day.
Yeah.
Big
Definitely.
blonde guys. And that's for, the villain. I mean, you can never go wrong, especially in the 90s, it seemed. The early 90s, Hopper as a mad villain was just on just the top of his game, really.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you first see Hopper in this movie, and he's got his little brolly and stuff, fucking love it. I always forget about it. I'll always remember how good he is in this movie, but when you first see him and he's like sat up high on that boat, is kind of like the leader boat. He's kind of like got a whole humongous thing going on, basically.
Yeah.
But he's got like a little outfit on, looks like little shoulder pads, and just the whole thing is so good.
He looks really cool. Yeah. I love the scene where he gets his eye taken out in an explosion, and then he's like little henchman's trying to like fit him with a new eye, and it just looks stupid.
Yeah.
And someone there just looks like shit. And he just looks at himself in the mirror and goes, "It does look like shit." It really cracked us up.
A lot of his lines really land really well. There's a really small bit where, towards the end of the movie, where he's getting in the aeroplane with the kid, and she's like trying to get away, and he's like, "No, you behave now." He's like a dad like telling her off or something.
Yeah.
Like it feels like an ad lib.
It probably was, yeah. I love that moment where he does the thing where he'll have two people at gunpoint and he'll kill one of them and say, if you speak, I won't kill you. And then he's about to kill him and he's like, "You said you wouldn't kill me." He's like, "Did I? Witnesses, did I?"
Yeah.
I genuinely can't remember.
Yeah, and then he's like, I think I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and then he hands the gun to Nord.
No, and he just kills him anyway. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah. What's interesting is that character, the guy that's strung up that gets blown away.
Yeah.
In that scene. So he has like a more extended role in the Ulysses cut.
Oh, okay.
Where he's kind of like a presiding sort of elder on that when they like lock up Kevin Costner, the mariner, for being a mutant.
Yeah.
That night they kind of all gather and have like, I can't remember if it's in the theatrical version, but they gather and have like a bit of a like a kangaroo court sort of thing to decide if they should kill him or not. They're examining like all the things that they found on his boat, and there's like some humour in there that there's like a little weight, like a weightlifting resistance thing, a spring loaded thing that you crunch.
Yeah.
They've got one of them, and it's that guy that gets shot. He's like, "We found this on his boat. It's some sort of torture device." And he picks up like a flute, and he's like, he puts it to his ear, and he's like, "This is how he listens to secret conversations. He's a spy." And stuff. So there's a bit more comedy, and he's portrayed more as like one of the 5 leaders of the atoll.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's kind of, I guess it has more impact when he gets killed a little bit. But then again, it was absolutely right to cut the scene because for pacing and stuff.
I honestly don't think you see him at all until he's strung up in the theatrical cut.
No, probably not. Or like very briefly in the like wide shots and the group shots.
Yeah.
There's quite a few talking bits in that, so it's just interesting.
Other villains that like pop up later. I mean, good old Kim Coates plays the creepy trader. Like, I love that guy. He's far too good at playing sleazy, horrible shitheads, though.
Yeah, he's got just his eyes, obviously, give him like a very intense look, very angular face. And yeah, he always plays like a good sort of like creepy villain or something. He's
a good villain in apart from the place we know him from the most is Last Boy Scout, and Bruce Willis kills him with one punch.
Yeah,
but that other Kevin Costner western from like mid 2000s, I think, called Open Range. He's one of the villains in that, and he's really good in that as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting little bit that, and it's kind of like I did kind of make note. I like the scene, but it's like, ultimately, what does the scene kind of... I guess it kind of serves to show that he's coming around to the girls. It softens him a bit,
yeah. It's basically all it's there for, just to show that like he does have some kind of moral compass, I suppose. At least now he does, yeah.
It's just one of them where like that scene probably could have been cut. And maybe it's like, made way for like other scenes that were trimmed down maybe it's too much.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Like I said, though, overall, I like the scene. Like, just kind of mad that there isn't like more of a point to it. Like they don't find something on his boat or something.
No, not really. No.
I always get it mixed up as well. I always think he's the one that nicks the limes.
Yeah, but that's right at the start. But yeah, the first big action scene and like the big compound thing, that's just insane. Like it's insanely excessive, and I don't know how long it probably took them like a good few weeks, maybe a month to shoot that. I would assume, because it just seems like pyro after pyro after stunt after stunt, and I'm assuming lots went wrong while they were shooting it because, like, you know.
Yeah, shooting on water and things.
Yeah, exactly. Hard enough shooting shit like that in a warehouse or like on like an open terrain. Never mind on fucking water.
I can't remember exactly, but it might have been there's a quote where maybe the director approached Steven Spielberg and said, like, have you got any tips for like filming this because you did Jaws?
He's like, don't.
Exactly. Steven Spielberg was like, just don't. That's my advice.
Just don't. Yeah.
But yeah, what a cracking scene. I mean, I love when the smokers do turn up and they're all in that line. And like I said, the first moment you see Hopper, and then it just feels like they've got the shit together. They've got those ramps that like raise up and the boats are jumping over the ramps, and then they've got like an aeroplane and the aeroplane's dragging people behind. Yeah. And they've got that big gunboat that like opens fire and just rips the shit out of the atoll. Like, the villagers are getting prepared with like bone swords and stuff. Yeah. And then they just rock up with like all the tools that are needed to fucking wreck an atoll.
I think the strongest thing they have is like a couple of Molotovs, basically.
So it's such a cool scene. And like you said, the logistics of it and stuff, it's crazy.
It's
stuff.
insane. And it's a long sequence as well. I forgot how long. It's about over 5 minutes long, which is long for an action scene that big. You know what I mean?
Probably longer again in the Ulysses cut as well. There's like a few bits here and there.
I can imagine.
Few angles I didn't recognise and stuff.
Yeah. And I love the way it ends with like Costner like turning the gunboat on Hopper's ship and stuff. It's very good.
The pig guy that's operating the machine gun. Well, he looks like a pig with his mask on.
He does. Yeah.
Firstly, I love it's a little Dennis Hopper-y thing. This, but he like calls everyone cousin throughout the movie. Yeah. And he's like, "What's the name of that cousin there?" And somebody's like, "Oh, it's Chuck." And he's like, "Chuck." And he's like, "Maybe she doesn't respond to the name Chuck." Charlie. Yeah. It's like such a funny little, just a throwaway line. Yeah. But yeah, he just blows the shit out of the out of his ship.
Yeah, but he does have such an iconic post-apocalyptic bad guy look, Dennis Hopper, in this. So
yeah, definitely. There's quite a lot of, like, blink and you miss it touches throughout the whole movie, though. Like the production design and stuff's like fucking top notch in this film.
Oh yeah,
and this little stuff like the oil tanker that they're on. Yeah. There's like a massive no smoking like sign across the front of the bridge where they stood. Like in big red writing. And again, just funny because the whole the cold smokers and they're literally smoking tabs all the time. So. and it would make sense that they shouldn't be smoking on an oil tanker. Yeah. Everyone's got cigarettes and booze and stuff.
Yeah, that is such a good badass moment with Kevin Costner at the end where like he doesn't think he's going to drop the flare down the pipe and he just does, and then just that poor old guy that's been down there for years is like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, poor guy, just relieved by his death.
What do you think of Jean Tripplehorn in the movie? I've always liked her in this. I always thought she was really good.
Yeah, I don't know if she's like one of them actresses that like either walked away from acting or...
No. I don't think she's done anything for a while. I was checking. I don't think she's done anything for a while, but she did continually work throughout the 90s. Yeah,
it's just this and... Basic Instinct in it that are big things.
It's a two big movies.
I really like her. I think she's like believable, but like vulnerable enough. She's not completely like a damsel either at the same time and stuff. She hits all the right marks for me. Like, I
like just the way she's written. She just does not really take any of Kevin Costner's shit, even when like he keeps being more nasty, and she's still just like, fuck off, stop being a dick, basically.
Like she belts him when he like chucks the kid out into the water and stuff, and she doesn't shy away from it. But then she is also like scared of him when he's got a knife in his hand approaching him and stuff. So I feel like I've always liked like the two girls in this, Tina Majorino as well, like very memorable performance.
Yeah. I didn't think it was funny, though, that reading up that Jean Tripplehorn wanted a body double for her butt when she drops her clothes, but just like, considering the amount of nakedness, not huge, but she has a big sex scene in Basic Instinct and kind of bears it all. Yeah. And there was just a story that like she wanted it to look like her butt, though, still, so she had to get like people coming to her trailer and like showing the butt auditions. Just said it was just like a really funny and awkward experience.
Yeah, because it's quite there's a lot of sexual undertones like at points in this movie, I suppose, isn't there?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
like her offering herself to him, and then the bit later on, and the whole 45 minutes with the little one and stuff. And
that's a fucked up line I didn't remember.
I was like, oh god.
I also didn't remember a bit later because obviously this was like, I don't know what rating this was, 12 when it came out over here, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
because it's just a bit. I didn't remember where like a bad guy shouts "fuck." And I'm like, I wonder if that was cut. I just don't remember any bad language in this movie at all.
No, there's, I think one of the differences with the special edition and the Ulysses is that there's a bit more violence and sort of swearing and stuff put back into the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they did. That's one of the things they trimmed like right down on, like any gore and stuff and any swearing.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you know, there's the whole big action scene at the end really good as well. I will admit, watching it this time, it was kind of fizzling out for us around the 90-minute mark. Yeah,
I think it's probably filmed. That's what I mean about like that scene with the offering up the girls and stuff for the trading scene. Like that's probably a scene that could have easily like been cut out of the movie to get the movie like just under 2 hours.
Yeah. To
make it a bit more snappier to, like through the midpoint. Because it's a chunky movie, definitely.
It is.
It's the start of the movie, like it moves along really, really fast.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, the midpoint it slows down a little bit. I think there's quite a lot. One thing that kind of, well, not differentiates it, because there's humour in a lot of these post-apocalyptic movies, but I feel like there's a good amount of humour in this film. You know, stuff like when the kid's like drawn on his boat, and like he's just like attacked Helen and cut her hair off. And then he notices the kid's like been drawn on his boat again, and then it's just a smash cut to like the pair of them sat there with a haircut, and like other little visual gags, like Dennis Hopper like wearing a baseball cap to like ingratiate himself with Enola. He's all like, "Hey, I'm just your pal," kind of approach that he takes with her.
I like when he offers her a ciggy. He's like, "Never too young to start."
So I just feel like there's a lot. It's lighter in some ways, this film, and gets away with a lot of comedy.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't. It's not like it's out of place humor as well. It fits.
I think, definitely. Yeah. The only specific thing as well, just worth mentioning about the Ulysses cut, which again I don't think's in the theatrical version, but correct me if I'm wrong. Helen gives him a name at the end as well.
No, that's definitely not in there.
Yeah, so she literally says like I'm aware of an old legend of a hero that came from the ocean, and he was called Ulysses. And he's like, "Oh, that's a good name," and like he takes the name Ulysses.
So that's why it's called the Ulysses cut. I had no idea. I was like, I get like some connection, but like, I didn't realize that was because she names him that at the end. That's interesting.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of like a nice full stop at the end of the movie. Like maybe they could have kept that in. Like, why cut that out of all the things? Yeah,
give him a name. Yeah.
I suppose it's probably worth mentioning. The one thing that kind of sets this movie out, apart from some of the other films, is that it's 500 years-ish into the future as well. Yeah, I saw that. What did they say? It was like the year 2500, basically. Yeah, so it's not like, like recent post-apocalyptic. There's like still people in the world that are like, I remember what it was like. Yeah. So it's wealth. And it does make sense because obviously Kevin Costner is supposed to be, a first generation, like evolution, like with gills and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it does make sense that it's like quite far in the future. Yeah. But it goes towards explaining why there's like fucked up monsters in the sea and stuff. All right, then I'll fucking let them off for that nothing's free in Waterworld line. Obviously, that's what the world's called. That's what Earth's called at that point. Yeah, maybe they forgot what the world's called, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's not called Earth anymore. Yeah, it's called Waterworld. Sound like a fucking swimming theme park or something. It's still a little bit cringe though. Like hearing the title of the movie like in the first 15 minutes of the film. Yeah. Like just say nothing's free in this world. Like I don't know, it just really bothered us. Like 5 minutes in, I was like, is that going to piss me off the entire movie? Just Waterworld. I think doesn't it get a shout out later on as well? I'm sure it's said more than once, the term Waterworld. I just remember it once, but it could be in the longer version, maybe. True, it might be in the longer version. I'm sure it's uttered later on in the movie as well at some point. I will say as well that I thought was interesting. This is my second Gene Triplehorn movie this month. I rewatched Basic Instinct last week. Oh, very good. I'm going to have to watch another one, make it a triple horn, triple bill. Should. Triple horn, triple bill. I had that written down, I just wanted to say it. Nice. I was trying to think of a sexual joke involving the word horn. But that's what I was trying to do as well. I couldn't work one out. Yeah. I tell you what, it's been many, many years since I watched Basic Instinct. I should probably go back and watch that. Still very good. Still a cracking thriller. Yeah, very good. So any more highlights before we move on to merch and Blu-ray and all that? I will say a random thing that I always loved, one random highlight scene that probably no one ever thinks is their highlight scene, but the bit when Kevin Costner throws a spear at Nord and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
misses him. And Kevin
Yeah.
Costner does that thing with his fingers, you know,
Yeah.
like, just missed you.
Yeah.
I always loved that as a kid. I loved that
Yeah.
scene for some reason.
Yeah, that's weirdly. I must remember you mentioning that when we were kids, because when he did that, I was like, why does this seem so like familiar? But it's not because of the movie. I think it was just because of you mentioning it a lot.
I just got a big pop out of that scene for some reason as a kid. Bombing around the garden, throwing like my mum's brush at the wall,
Just throw it at your brother.
recreating it.
You know, it also kind of looks like he's doing the hand signal from Big Drum Little China.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, I suppose as well should mention a shout out to Jack Black as well in this film.
Oh yeah, very early
young
role.
Jack
He's like
Black.
the pilot, isn't he? Later in the
He
play.
is, yeah. So again, in the Ulysses cut, he gets back to the oil tanker, and him and Dennis Hopper have a conversation. So he does actually have a talking bit in the longer cut as well.
Poor Jack Black, man. Like if you look at the there's like in True Romance, he has a role in that cut out from the first like opening scene, and then he gets like his dialogue cut out in Waterworld. the struggles of an upcoming actor back in the day.
Yeah, crazy.
But yeah, like, it is a fun movie. It's not. It's like I said, it's one of those films where I think obviously, like most post-apocalyptic movies, some people just don't like them because they think they're silly. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some people who would say Mad Max 2 is fucking stupid because it's like silly costumes and all that. But like, if you like post-apocalyptic movies, if you don't like Waterworld, then what the fuck? What the fuck? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a very serviceable post-apocalyptic movie, and just a summer blockbustery type film. I also think it works on levels where normally films like this kind of can piss me off. I don't feel like there's, apart from the two jokey bits at the start that I mentioned about drinking his own piss unnecessarily and etc. I don't feel the film does anything that kind of makes us go and roll my eyes.
No, not really.
Like the whole trading in dirt makes sense to me because the whole planet's like an ocean.
Yeah.
So, it's like, and it would be a commodity dirt because, you grow plants in dirt and stuff, and plants grow edible things. And so, it does make sense. They don't make any of those, like, trip ups where they're like, oh, they're desperately looking for gold or something, or that sort of stuff where you're like, would you want that sort of stuff in a water world? I mean, okay, you could dig into it and be like, where did they get the diesel and all that sort of shit? But we'll suspend with disbelief for that.
Well, I was reading just little bits about in the longer version. It says in the longer version they explain more how Dennis Hopper's crew can like make all that oil.
Yeah, they do talk about like the like kind of like, I don't know what, there's a term that they use, but it's kind of like making it out of the black stuff that they've got, sort of as they refer to it. But they are creating their own fuel, sort of thing. Yeah. So I just think that it never reaches a point where you think, oh fuck off, I'm not buying that.
I mean, where do they get all the ciggies from? That's what I want to know. They're in a packet and everything, like Black Death cigarettes. They got logos. Where are they getting these from? 2,500.
Maybe it's to make them. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe
It's their own brand.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
Very good film. I do enjoy it. I'll just say that. Not a guilty pleasure for me. Just I think I just genuinely like the film.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of like, it was losing us a bit after like towards the end, but not in a way where I was like, oh, it's ruined it. I just, my attention was going a bit after the 90-minute mark, I would say, but it's still a fun movie.
Champion Cinema.
As for the Blu-ray, I mean, the only one you really need to get is the Arrow release, which contains 3 cuts of the movie. You've got the theatrical cut, the US TV cut, and then the Ulysses cut. It's interesting that the Ulysses cut started life as a fan edit of taking all the deleted scenes from the TV cut, but combined it with the uncut version, like theatrical version with the violence and stuff like that. And then eventually, Universal went, oh, that's a good idea, and then did it themselves, the full 3-hour version, which is cool.
Another thing about, and you know me with my audio, about Ulysses, a reason why I wouldn't recommend it is because clearly the film is just the entire film but longer. Yeah. The score doesn't work for it. So it's like they've kind of stripped out the score completely and they've just banged on like tracks from the CD that just play through the film. So like it feels like it is the same like soundtrack playing in the background, but it just more feels like track 2 from the CD is like over the scene when he's like escaping from the atoll. Okay. So it doesn't quite match up. There's definitely some points where I was like, I feel like that's punctuated much, much better in the theatrical version by the music coming in and like swelling and stuff. And So it's definitely like less impactful a version to watch for that. Like.
So it must have been scored to the theatrical cut when it was originally scored.
Yeah, massively. And I can see why, because like I said, the entire film, it's not like there's a 15-minute scene put back in the film. Most of the film is just every scene is like 1 minute longer.
Yeah.
So the soundtrack just doesn't work, basically.
I did also read as well. There was I can't remember who did it now, but someone did score the film first. Then Costner rejected it, and then they had to get someone else to do it. Like not the last minute, but like considering how fucking megally over budget it didn't fucking just a mess the kind of production was. It wouldn't surprise us if it was like the week before it came out. The poor guy was scoring the movie.
Yeah, probably rushing through it.
There's also a 100-minute making of, a 10-minute featurette from 95, a featurette by Glenn Kenny about end-of-the-world movies, and a shed load of production galleries, trailers, and that's in Blu-ray and 4K, so take your pick.
Yeah, the Arrow one's very nice there.
It is, yeah.
Definitely.
As for merch and stuff, I mean, Acclaim Comics released a 4-issue sequel series in 1987 called Waterworld, Children of Leviathan, but for some reason, Costner basically told to fuck off when it came to granting his permission to use his likeness, so the Mariner looks now like Kevin Costner. It kind of looks like an off-brand Jared Butler.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like they just went totally the opposite direction.
That's what I mean. We were saying before the show, like maybe it's like Costner's reaction was "fuck you." How about that? And they were like, "Shit, we better make it look absolutely nothing like Kevin Costner in case he sues."
I will find you. I will hunt you down if you proceed with this. And they're like, nope.
But why? Do you just not like comics or something? What's the deal? What about poster art and stuff, though?
Yes, let's talk about it. First on my list, actually, talk about video games.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does have a couple of video games, and much like the movie, they weren't very well received.
I saw there was one on the fucking Virtual Boy. It was like the only movie tie-in game on the Virtual Boy.
Yeah. So ironically, in a genius move, Ocean published a whole bunch of games. If you're going to get somebody to do a Waterworld movie, you would get Ocean at the time. Definitely. So they released, they published and released a Virtual Boy game, as you say, a SNES game and a Game Boy game. The Virtual Boy game is often held as certainly the worst game on the Virtual Boy.
Oh, Jesus.
And one of the worst games of all time.
I bet.
Like unplayable.
Yeah.
The virtual aspect of it just didn't work. Really nasty. The SNES game, it's not so bad. It's kind of an isometric game. I liken it to, you remember that game, Desert Strike on the Mega Drive and stuff, where you're an Apache helicopter. It's kind of like that, but on water, and you're playing as the boat. And it has a very similar feel. There's moments where you can dive underwater and visit like the underwater places, and it switches to a side scroller sort of very typical shooting game of the time.
Sounds pretty cool, actually. Yeah,
it's not bad. Unfortunately, the main bits of the game, the where you're in the boat, are like infuriating and shit.
Damn it!
And I have played it a few times in the SNES. The soundtrack's really nice, though. Ironically, whoever did the music on that fucking smashed it out of the park.
Nice.
The Game Boy game is surprisingly good. Really harnessed the power of the Game Boy at the time. Big sprites, nice refresh rate, and worked really well.
Cool.
There was going to be a Mega Drive game, but it didn't happen in the end. It was never released. And it was leaked like a couple of years ago, the full Mega Drive game. So it's out there. And then Interplay, they did a game in 97 as well on the PC, which I think's a little bit better, but still, it's too little too late, I think, releasing it at that point. And looking at toys, just next on my list, obviously a lot of films back then had toy lines that went hand in hand.
Yeah.
So Kenner released a series of toys in 95. They released a play set of the boat, the Trimaran. Trimaran, could I ever say that word?
I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, and they released about a dozen or so figures that all take wild liberties with the franchise, obviously. Deacon comes with like a helmet that fires discs. Every character comes with a sea mutant. They really latched onto the whole sea mutant thing.
Yeah.
For some fucking reason. But again, much maligned. I'm sure they sat in bargain bins shortly after the movie came out.
I don't know if I'm just thinking. I think I had like some Prince of Thieves figures when I was a kid, and I'm trying to think if like maybe I'm just getting it mixed up with that. But I'm sure like someone I knew had a Kevin Costner Mariner figure, but maybe I'm just mixing it up with Robin Hood. Yeah,
because they were the ones that did the reused Star Wars figure, like sculpts or something. There's something about that. In there.
Yeah, because fucking Friar Tuck's and Gamorrean god or something, isn't he?
Yeah. Like just really cheaply knocked together figures.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when I found that out, I was like, Jesus, how did I never notice this when I was a kid?
I mean, the Waterworld figures, basically, if you dug deep enough, you'd probably find they're reused molds and stuff because they look very, like, of the time toys.
Yeah,
like,
because those 89 Batman figures, they were just remolds of, like, a separate DC Batman series that they released, like, the year before or something.
Yeah, cheeky bastards. Yeah. But lastly, moving on to posters, there was a few little bits. It has obviously garnered a bit of a cult following over the years. But more mainstream, Drew Struzan, he was commissioned to do some art for the movie. Two particularly really nice pieces of art. But of course, the studio declined to use the art and went with just a boring ass, poster.
Yeah, that was the start of that happening more and more, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just like a shot of, I think the American poster is a shot of Costner's face with the sun and the icon kind of merged into one.
Yeah.
And the British one with just Costner holding a spear.
Yeah.
With like the sea in the background and stuff.
I prefer that one. I don't know whether it's just because it's more familiar, but I just think it's a more pleasing image. I don't know. Yeah.
It's a shame it's saying that they didn't go with Drew Struzan's art. It's really nice.
It's just mad, a film that costs this much with this much scale that you don't try and sell some of that on the poster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's bizarre.
Very strange. But more recently, there's some alternative movie art by Tom Coupland. That's a piece that I've got that I quite like. More unusual art style, like very bright and vivid colours and stuff.
It's very nice, though. It's very nice. That would make, like what we say, like when companies are looking to use like art for steelbooks and stuff. That would be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Actually, one thing, just while I was looking at some stuff, just totally off piste, I noticed that at the time, when they were promoting the movie, they did a watch that they released that was powered by water. It was waterproof and powered by water.
What?
and I must say, it's quite a snazzy watch.
Is it really?
Yeah. I would. There's some on eBay still for like £100.
I was going to say, I wonder how much they're worth now. £100.
Be tempted, yeah. They're quite nice. If you get a chance, have a look for Waterworld watch.
Oh, well.
It comes in like a wooden box and it looks really nice.
Oh, fancy.
That's very nice. Yeah. So yes, that wraps up merchandise.
Yeah, all right, so that's Waterworld. Let's move on to Book of Eli.
Get a drink because I'm fucking red hot.
Yeah, I always have a drink. I'm stop panicking in a minute.
Start drinking your own piss.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Costner.
I've got my little filtration unit set up, right, just in case.
Champion Cinema.
So, Book of Eli, we're skipping ahead. One of the more modern films we've done of late.
Yes.
It came out in the year 2010 with a runtime of 1 hour, 58 minutes. Directed by the Hughes brothers of Menace to Society and Dead Presidents fame. Yeah. Starring Denzel Washington as Eli, Mila Kunis as Calypso, just kidding, Solara, Ray Stevenson as Redridge.
No, Ray. He's a local lad, Ray Stevenson. Bless him.
Yeah, R.I.P. as well.
Yeah, R.I.P. Passed away recently,
Gary Oldman as Carnegie, Jennifer Beals as Claudia, Michael Gambon as George, and Tom Waits as the engineer.
I did not know he was in this. There's two people I didn't know were in this. Tom Waits and fucking Malcolm McDowell, who you hear before you see. And I was like, well, that's Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what I left him off because he's a bit of a spoiler at the end.
He is.
But it's kind of mad that, I didn't know anybody. The only person I knew was in this movie was Denzel Washington. So when I was watching this movie, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's got a crazy cast, doesn't it? Yeah.
So, speaking of which, though, give me your synopsis.
Right. Eli, a lone wanderer... I'll start again. Fuck. Eli, a lone wanderer in the apocalypse, is heading west on his own private mission with a mysterious book in his possession. Carnegie, a tyrannical leader of a ramshackle town, discovers that the book is the very same one he has been searching for. But it opens with cat hunting. So it's not a great way to win me over to start shooting a cat with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, disclaimer, if you're a lover of cats, it's a cat does get murdered in the first 5 minutes of this film.
But, it's softened by it being very CGI. So
yeah, and obviously they've clearly gone for which is weird. This sums up this movie, problematic at best. So they wanted to kill a cat for whatever reason, to highlight that he'll do anything to survive. I don't know what the point of him killing a cat is.
I don't know why it had to be a cat.
Well, this is my point. Why is it a cat? So they haven't just picked any cat, though. They've obviously went, we can't just like fucking have a cute looking cat and blow it away.
Yeah.
So they get like one of those hairless cats. So it's like a creepy, like more looking, like, oh, it's a bit of a creepy cat, isn't it? Like, so they obviously in their minds, they must have had a problem with like, well, we can't just kill any cat. So don't fucking use a cat then.
Yeah,
Have
don't use
pig,
a cat.
Rabbit,
Yeah.
I don't know.
A wolf or something that's dangerous. You know what I mean? That'd make him seem more badass if he's just hiding out, fucking taking out wolves with bow and arrows. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so it is like the film starts in that sort of line and continues for me in that like, why did they do that and why didn't they just do this? Sort of thought. Very much.
I did enjoy the slow opening though of just him on his own exploring. I just really enjoyed that for some reason. Yeah, just how the film looks like it's super desaturated in the outdoor bits because of like the bright sun and all that type of stuff. And then when it's indoors at night, it's almost sepia. Like about halfway through, I was like, well, considering how high contrast this is and stuff, I wonder how it looks in black and white. And it like looks like it was shot in black and white if you just turn the color off on your TV. I'd probably prefer to watch it in black and white actually.
It definitely it has a very distinct look. The film, I'll
does.
definitely say that for it. Yeah, and they have stuck with the whole style and. I mean, I do like. I'm the same. I do like the like minimal start. Minimalist start, I should say. I don't think there's any dialogue for like 11 minutes ish.
I think until he talks to the mouse. The mouse that pops out when he's eating. Yeah.
So definitely big tick for me for like the look of the movie, like massively.
It's got a unique look, definitely, especially in the term in the the whole genre of post-apocalyptic movies. It's definitely a unique looking movie.
Yeah,
they haven't just tried to make it look like Mad Max.
No, exactly. Yeah, they've like done their own thing and like the use of shadows and stuff's really nice. And but the one thing that like early on that kind of snapped me straight out of the movie was just like when he got the iPod out. I was just like, oh, fuck off. That's just like needless product placement for me.
It might be a bit of product placement, yeah.
And they're just like, oh, yeah, probably fucking iPod. Like, iPods were still big, I guess, in 2010 or whatever.
Well, I guess that's why it's there, though. It's to, like, at least have some sort of familiarity to a modern audience, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of works.
Just think, like, he's scratching around murdering cats and fucking then he's got an iPod. Like, fuck off. Like, fuck off. I wrote me notes, fuck off film.
You can't kill cats and own an iPod, okay? If you're just serial killers, if you've got an iPod and you're killing cats, stop it. Sell it on eBay.
Though, like, what was it accomplishing? What were they trying to show? Like what purpose did him having an iPod in the movie actually serve? Apart from them just going, iPod. The music doesn't play a part in the movie. It's not like he puts his iPod on at one point and only uses his sense of smell, or it just doesn't have a point in the film. So
I guess at that point though, I just took it as like, even if it was just a Walkman, if it wasn't an iPod, if it didn't seem like product placement, if it was just a Walkman, he's got like a battery to recharge it. Just that he's very self-sufficient on his own.
I guess
that's what I took from it, really. Yeah,
I think it probably could have been accomplished. For me, my like nerd barometer would have been chilled out if it was literally a Walkman. I think I would have been like, okay. I think like fucking, there's no way an iPod is lasting more than 10 years. Let's face it.
True.
With the shitty batteries and stuff. Cause
it would have blown up in his pocket by now, definitely.
Because isn't there a line in the movie where he talks about like he's been walking for 30 winters?
Yeah.
So it's at least 30 years since the apocalypse happened.
Yeah.
So obviously iPods haven't been in manufacture, like it being produced for 30 years. So like, I don't know, maybe there is a 30-year-old iPod that will work in 30, like once it reaches 30 years.
I mean, thinking about it, I have heard of people that still have the first generation iPod and they say it still works. I think that was the best one of the lot.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And as we've seen in the last 50 years, Apple kind of just makes stuff to last a year till the next one comes out.
Totally. But yeah, anyway, let's move on from iPods. It's just fucking angered me straight away.
This week we're reviewing Waterworld and the use of iPods in the Book of Eli.
And also, while I'm on the topic, just to cap it off, Motorola as well randomly gets a shout out at one point in the movie.
Do they?
Yeah, Gary Oldman has a megaphone.
Oh yeah,
and he like holds it up to his face, and like right square in the middle of the camera in the shot is just Motorola. Yeah. And I was just laughing, going like, Gary Oldman's all like, oh my God, my voice is so clear and loud and pronounced using this.
Even in an apocalypse, this Motorola megaphone still works great.
Eli may have his Apple iPod on, but he'll even be able to hear me shoot. Something like some fucking cross merchandising thing. But anyway.
What did you think of the first action scene? I liked it. I liked the way it was all shot in silhouette. It's such a good fight.
Yeah.
And, fucking Denzel Washington's just cool as a fucking cucumber beforehand. It's so cool.
It's probably, like, not to jump ahead, but it's probably like my favourite sort of scene, like the highlight scene for me.
It's a really good scene.
Yeah, because obviously it's kind of tipping the hat that he's blind without sort of telling you full on, because he like backs off into the shadows. And he's like fighting them in the dark, basically, at that point.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need his eyes to fight them. But I love that it's all like kind of 2D as well, the whole fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like those video games that you always get them on like PlayStation and Xbox Arcade and stuff, where they're like, I'm trying to remember, is it Limbo? There's a game called Limbo where it's all 2D and it's all just black and white.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded us of that. It's just like a very simplistic sort of image. But yeah, really nice.
Did you see that Denzel trained with Dan Inosanto, like Bruce Lee's former protege? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, mad.
But yeah, that scene's very good. And it does. Because the thing is, you say, you didn't know anything about what really it was about, or the twists, or anything like that.
No, I just knew it was post-apocalyptic.
Because I did. Like, because I remember wanting to see it at the time, and then like just seeing either reviews or like just people moaning about it. So I knew about the twist. I knew that he was blind. So I was kind of going into it with knowing all that baggage that people didn't like and trying to watch it that way. So I don't know. Like, do you want to talk about that now? Like, what did you think of the twist at the end?
Yeah, I liked it. I think
I liked it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact he's blind. You know, it's obviously like influenced by Zatoichi and that sort of stuff, like blind swordsman.
Yeah.
But it doesn't smash in the face with it.
No.
And it's nice that, the book's kind of in Braille and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, Gary Oldman can't read the book that he's, like, squandered his entire, like, resources away on.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of cool, like, fuck you to the bad guy at the end.
Yeah, it's like a fuck you without even killing him. It's just letting him rot in his own fucking choices, basically. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Until it was explained, I was like, okay, how come you can find the fucking Da Vinci Code and KFC wet wipes, but the Bible's hard to come across? And I was like, I'm glad you explained it.
Yeah, there was some moments, where I had to kind of go, we'll wait and see, but that annoys me. Like the Bible,
me too.
like
the most popular book in the world.
Yeah. I did actually like, though, you mentioned the Da Vinci Code. I did chuckle when he like drops the bag of books on the desk and one of them's the Da Vinci Code, because obviously that's one of the books that's like it sits on every charity shop, like in the UK. It's like such an overpublished book.
Yeah, and at this point, I think this was like its popularity, wasn't it? Around the late 2000s, 2010, yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite funny that it's just a copy of the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
I did see trivia, just while we're on the subject of the Bible. I mean, firstly, apparently, again, I'm not to be like, actually.
Don't be that guy.
But if it wasn't Braille, apparently it would be like 12 times as big, the book. So, because apparently, like, it doesn't fit. Like, Braille needs a lot of space, apparently. Opposed to written words. But just a little bit of trivia that caught my eye. The King James Bible is roughly 789,000 words long. And to write it out longhand, which obviously we say at the end of the movie, if they wrote it out at 20 to 30 words per minute, which is about the average, it would take roughly 31,000 minutes to write it out. So assuming they were writing it for about 8 hours a day and then obviously resting and sleeping, it would take 66 days to complete.
Jesus.
He lay in that bed for 66 days before, spoilers, popping his clucks.
Yeah, popping his clucks. And then Mila Kunis nicks his garb and his sword and his iPod and goes off into the wasteland.
I do like to think as well, though, like, just me joking here, but that what Malcolm McDowell actually got was just like Denzel Washington's like interpretation of what the Bible, like, from what he could remember. He was like, right, so Palms chapter 1, Jesus, right, he's got a cross. And they're like, fucking, this Bible sounds amazing.
It's fascinating.
Like, actually, he couldn't remember it that well. Somebody's just going to read it. Somebody's going to turn up who's actually read the Bible before, and they're going to read that copy and go, what the fuck? What's in the Bible?
Where'd you get this? Where'd you get this? Get yourself Timu.
It's like, yeah, Google Translate, like it's translated the Bible into like Chinese and then back into English or something.
Yeah. Like those bootlegs used to get back in the day with that like English translated to Chinese, translated back into English again. It was just like, this makes no fucking sense.
So, yeah, I do like to think that that's like what they end up with at the end.
And what I like, you know, what scene I really liked when Michael Gambon and fucking Frances de la Tour from Rise and Damp showed up. I was like, what's she doing?
Yes.
Is there the old cannibal couple? I like that.
It's a fun scene, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're not really villains, but they're not really good guys either. So
No.
it kind of works. When they get blown away, you're kind of like, fair play.
Yeah.
Like they were cannibals, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I did particularly like that scene as well. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a cool scene. I could have watched that scene. Like, it could have been a few minutes longer, just them like being in an awkward situation. I would have come across a bit too broad, maybe, for a movie like this, because it almost strays into it, I think, a little bit.
But speaking of like other obviously big characters and names, I mean, feelings on Gary Oldman in this movie.
You know what? I like him in the movie, but that's just because I was thinking like it's rare now that Oldman does villain roles anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Like in the 90s, that's all he fucking did.
Oh, yeah.
He was like in True Romance, Dracula, Leon. Like he was Gary Oldman, great villain actor guy. But now he kind of doesn't do that anymore. So it was nice to see him in something more recent where he's been a bastard.
You very much get like what you expect in this movie from Oldman.
Yeah.
When he turned up, like again, I didn't know he was in the film, and when he turned up, I just turned to Stacey, who I was watching it with, and said, any money, there's going to be a bit in this movie where he's just dead shouty. And it's like, and there it was, like multiple times where he's all like, go get the Bible and stuff. And it's like just classic Gary Oldman shouting.
There needs to be a movie where like Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins just have an argument for 2 hours.
Just fucking shouting the shit out of each other. So yeah, no, he definitely elevates the like the material. I think it works really well as like the evil preacher, I guess. Yeah, it kind of is what they're going for. Like he wants to use the Bible for like nefarious reasons. Yeah, there is. I watched it. It's available on YouTube on like the official Warner channel. There's a motion comic on the Blu-ray which is about his backstory as a kid. So that's worth watching as well if you're interested in like maybe how he became that kind of person in an apocalypse. Yeah, cool. But on the flip side, though, one person, I feel like I'm like very whingy about this film, but
you're fucking whinging, Jesus.
I didn't buy Mila Kunis at all. Like I don't like Mila Kunis as an actress in most films I've seen her in. Just my personal opinion, but I just always think she comes off as like the it girl in whatever film she's playing.
That's what I was going to say about this and Waterworld. And like, you've got fucking makeup crews there, for fuck's sake. Like, I never see any of these fuckers in these movies trading toothpaste.
Yeah.
But everyone's got cracking teeth.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I don't buy that, like, Mila Kunis is like a young girl that's born into the apocalypse. She just comes off as like a girl who's got access to a mobile phone and like has nice nails and like looks pretty, and it just doesn't work, I feel.
Well, I don't know though. Isn't that the point though, that like Oldman's got her and her mother like hostage basically, but he treats them to fucking all the good shit he finds out in the wasteland.
To
like,
some
he gets
degree.
shampoo at the start and stuff like that for you.
Yeah, like that stuff does work. I just don't think I like ever buy Mila Kunis whenever I see her in films, to be honest.
Just not a fan of the Kunis then.
No. I like her. I've seen her in interviews. She seems like a really sweet like person and stuff and that. Don't get us wrong. And I like her as Meg in Family Guy.
Of course,
I guess.
Of course.
But yeah, just maybe there's a Mila Kunis film out there that I would enjoy, but every time I've seen her in a film, all I can say is Mila Kunis. Personally.
What if she had like a bit of a gibby eye and like a front teeth were missing?
Maybe. Yeah, they needed to apocalypse her up, basically.
Yeah. Give her like a little mutant arm or something.
Give her some scraggy hair. And give her some armpit hair.
Yeah, there you go.
Something along them lines. But yeah, I think the rest of the cast though, like really cool. Like I thought
it's a really good cast.
Ray Stevenson as the like kind of the muscle of Gary Oldman's army.
Yeah, big scary bloke, wasn't he?
Yeah, bless him. Worked really well. Like a villain with like kind of like Mad Dog in Hard Boiled.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a code as well though. And
he's like in love with Mila Kunis' character as well, so that kind of like softens him at the end when like he's threatening to shoot her and he's like, just give him the book, please.
Yeah. So I liked his character.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. He was a cracking Punisher as well. I'll say that.
Yeah, I do need to go back and watch that again. I have watched it once and then never returned to it.
But yeah, I enjoyed Book of Eli. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, see, you probably gathered, I didn't really enjoy it. I liked bits of it. I said that I liked the look of it. I liked certain scenes. I liked Oldman, but the whole Bible stuff I didn't enjoy at all. I thought like they could have had a much better MacGuffin there. I guess it has its purpose, and maybe if you're like religiously minded, maybe you would like enjoy it more.
I was going to say, if you're a Christian, and this is like your ultimate post-apocalyptic movie, really.
Yeah.
I would say.
I just didn't understand what it was trying to say, because like you've got Eli who's like, oh, the Bible, it's fucking mint. Pretty much that quote from the movie. But then you've got like Gary Oldman who's all like, I'm gonna use religion to fuck people, and apparently the war that destroyed humanity was also caused by religion, so religion's fucking pretty bad, but then religion's good. It's like, what are you trying to say, film? Is religion good or bad?
Yeah.
And then like the whole point in the movie culminates to they get to Alcatraz, and he's like, oh, I've got it stored up in my head, I'll tell you the Bible. And then Malcolm McDowell like transcribes it, and he prints it into a book, and he can say, again, put it in the shelf.
But it's basically a big metaphor for like collecting Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Just puts it on his shelf.
Puts it next to his fucking steelbook collection.
And just goes, hey.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, like, I think I would have preferred if they got the Bible to somewhere and it was used for good and it helped people. But instead, it's like it just ended up as another book on a shelf that no one gives a fuck about. So it's kind of like, what was the point of the film?
Yeah,
Like,
I do agree. It's kind of a weird, like, what you're supposed to come out with at the end. Maybe it's up to interpretation, but it's a bit too vague.
Yeah.
There could at least be more of a concrete answer there. I do agree with that. Yeah.
so it's just very, I don't know, and I suppose maybe there's a point to religion can be used for great things and for bad things.
Yeah,
like
maybe that's what it's saying. Yeah, because I don't know if the Hughes brothers are like religious, and this is more of a personal like message from them. I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was fine. Like it was. I think probably I enjoyed it probably because it's better than I thought it was going to be. Because I think just for years, I just always remember the reaction to it when it came out was very lukewarm, and it just put us off watching it for a while. But eventually, that just turned into me never getting around to watching it until now. So I think that might be why I liked it, because I was like, this is better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was certainly an easy watch, and let's say I liked. There's definitely stuff there, like the visuals and stuff. Denzel Washington's like, as you say, like cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
I could watch Denzel Washington in that kind of role all the time, basically.
Yeah, he's one of those actors that can easily slip between like a serious dramatic role that'll get him an Oscar nomination or something like this or Man on Fire and be like a ruthless, cool, like anti-hero almost. He's such a good actor.
Champion Cinema.
As for the Blu-ray, there doesn't seem to be a 4K release anywhere yet, which is surprising because I think a film like this, I think looks like it was shot digitally. I think it would look pretty cracking on 4K actually.
Yeah, definitely.
But Blu-rays across the board pretty much the same. They've got like about 30 minutes of behind-the-scenes featurettes, deleted scenes, and like I said, a motion comic called A Lost Tale Billy, which tells the story of the Carnegie character. But looking through all the extras on the different releases, like the German release features another Lost Tale called The End, and it doesn't seem to be on any other release. I don't know why that's only on the German one. That's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. No 4K, like I said, and all the Blu-rays are pretty much the same standard release.
Not a great amount of love. I guess it's a film. I mean, just before we started recording, I was looking for, like official posters of the time and stuff, and there's just like barely anything for it. They just kind of slapped Denzel's face on it, and then that was that. Yeah, there was a few alternate like posters of different like Denzel and different poses, and that was kind of it, really. Yeah. It just feels like one of them films that kind of I didn't get a lot of love. I guess it just kind of came and went.
No, yeah, it did. Yeah.
But speaking of posters, though, I suppose there was sent over 2 pieces of art. So Chris Weston, who he'd worked in the movie as he did storyboards and he did concept art for the movie. He released a print. That's quite nice.
It is really
kind
nice,
of comic booky.
That should have been the poster, really.
Yeah,
the main poster.
Yeah, rather than just like the picture of him.
Yeah.
But Ivan Quinet as well, or Ivan Quinet, maybe. I keep pronouncing that wrong. They did it's quite a simple sort of poster, just Denzel Washington's face, but it certainly it captures the look and the feel of the movie well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
quite a nice piece of art. So, yes. And sadly, no action figures, obviously. No. Book of Eli action figures. Or video
I think
games.
an Eli figure would be pretty cool with all the gadgets and not gadgets, but like accessories he has and stuff. I think it would make a good Hot Toys figure.
Yeah, come with his little his Bible with the big cross on the front and stuff.
His iPod.
Fucking don't get me started on iPod. Comes with a cat that's got a spear through it and stuff.
Yeah, comes with a dead Sphinx.
Champion Cinema.
So next week, we're wrapping up Post-Apocalyptic Month with Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Fury Road.
Yes.
When's Furiosa out? Is it the end of the month?
Yeah, I feel like it's like maybe it's next weekend. Maybe.
Okay.
Something like the 25th of May or something, did I say?
Are you going to go say it? Because we'll talk about it on the show. I won't say it, but you let us know what you thought about it.
It'd be fucking stupid.
It probably will be stupid.
It's got that bloody Anya Taylor Joy in it.
Yeah, your favourite. It's like her and apparently Mila Kunis are your favourite actors.
Oh, imagine. Just a film with Mila Kunis and Anya Taylor-Joy and fucking Chuckleface from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, God.
That would just blow my mind.
Imagine that remake of Charlie's Angels for you.
I would not be happy.
Yeah, that's next week. Thunderdome and Fury Road. So, yeah, you can find us on Instagram, on the gram, as the kids say, at Champion Cinema Pod. We've got a T-shirt shop on TeePublic. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that jazz. YouTube as well. So, yeah, until then, folks, keep it real and tasty and all that. And I'll see you down the pit.
See you in the heap.
Man.